Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
I love that intro. Love it, love it, love it. My name's Irene Portelli. I'm from Cairns. I actually grew up in Innisfail. I'm used to heat and not having an air conditioner, which at the moment I don't have because Jasper's just been through. But I do live in a beautiful house that's got a tropical regioned rainforest in the front. And I've over the past 2.5 years, I've been establishing a permaculture garden in the back, which has gone through cycles, bush hens, which, by the way, they're around, but they're not as active in my back garden since Jasper. So, in fact, the whole biodiversity in my garden has changed a bit since Jasper's been through. It's kind of my story. God, bloody hell. Innisfail. Innisfail is, well, it's not, I don't know, I haven't been there. I kind of left when I was 21. I was ready to go. I went to London. I got tired of people telling the same stories over and over again. There was no internet, but it was a really interesting time because there was a video store in my town that was always getting the latest tech. And we were like so attracted to it because it was like, oh, wait, you can watch things at your time, not that you have to race home and be home at these certain times. I think my childhood in Innisfail was very, very free. There was people were growing food on their footpaths. There was lychee, there was 5-star fruit, mangoes. Some of the mangoes were shit, but we generally could get mangoes wherever we want. The lychee tree, I can't even tell you what an impact that tree has had on my life and my garden design. It's like one of the 2 trees I try and grow in any garden I have. Some gardens like the clay one we had out at Sanford, it was like, that's never going to grow there. That experience of, leaving home 6 o'clock in the morning, coming home just on dark. If we were later, if the lights were on, we were in trouble. If the lights were on and the sun was still up, we were okay. But if it was dark and we were at home, that was like, no. But as we got older, you got more flex with that. I am the youngest of 4 in my current dynamic with my mum. My mum was an older mother when she had me. She had me at 40. She was... my parents are a unique dynamic of people who love each other but didn't get on really well, and it was quite volatile because it was gambling and alcohol and he grew up on Malta while the Second World War was happening, so there was a lot of PTSD. He's, Malta's an island. It's a European, it used to be a stronghold. Actually, it's got a really great history. I do find Malta really fascinating, and their war museum is next level because at one point in time, Malta was the Silicon Valley of Europe because what worked, because everybody invaded by water, right? So anyone who controlled Malta could literally control, which parts of Europe, so the Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, what ended up happening was all the kings and the regal would send their first son to Malta to work out how to keep that stronghold, so nobody ended up owning it. Like, it was like the first United Nations probably started in Malta, if you want to flex. But there was, it also started the Maltese Cross, which is the framework for ambulance and St. John's ambulance, so it's got quite a foundational history. And I found it really interesting because it was also about keeping their people safe, because there was, as they were getting these defenses, what ended up happening was that all these intelligent minds and this collaboration ended up developing some of the most secure ways to keep castles from being invaded, so then that was rippled out. That technology was then rippled out into Europe, so that the chance of invasion was less. Anyway, it was so cool because they would divert the armies from coming in. Anyway, this strategy, it's a place based on strategy, and they've got constraints like water, power, waste, because they're an island. Anyway, my dad grew up there. They tried to move to America, and then something happens, and I had to get deported. So, my dad was born in San Francisco, but he ended up moving back to Malta and literally experienced the whole Second World War from 9 to 17. So, but through that time, he was a spear fisherman, so he would get lobster and help feed the family. But coming back to the politics and the way that they did war, but they protected their people. So in one particular invasion, the people needed to fight as well because they were losing this battle. And they all chipped in and they won and saved Malta, right? But they had a high loss of casualty. So what they ended up doing was building a replica underground of Malta. St. Julian's, not all of it. There's certain parts of it that they did because it wasn't all colonized. Not colonized. Actually, they were colonized. Britain got there too. Anyway, so it was just people and protection, and I think it's such a great history. Their war museums are insane. The amount of history in that country, it's definitely my Roman Empire that I think about what I would like to do for a certain part of the rest of my life is really experience what went on there and how they protected their people but also protected their place. So he moved to Australia at 17 on a ship, and he was a hustler, because he had to be. There was racism for Maltese people. They were called black dogs. In fact, anyway, they didn't stay long. A lot of Maltese went back, went to Europe, went to America, etc. So that's, I'm first generation Australian on my dad's side, and then I've got Italian and English on the other. So very stubborn on both sides of my family. So we kind of moved to Innisfail. We lived there at the end of a cul-de-sac, and we had this huge chicken coop. We lived a really authentic log life. So we had like 30 chickens. We had the street give us all their compost, and we would give them eggs. Not everybody, because some of them are assholes, so we didn't get on with them. But you know what I mean? Like we were, if you were cool, we were cool. I did have a bantam rooster that attacked the next door neighbor, and then we had to put it down. But that kid really, bantam rooster as you're a dog type thing. We don't need, anyway. So chickens were probably the reason I went vegan in my 20s, because I'd come home and there'd be like dead chickens hanging upside down on a clothesline. But we would always have fresh fruit and veggies in our freezer. My dad was excellent in the garden. And one of the things that he did, and I'm so doing this in my next garden, in my next house, we live at Machan's, and it's really hard to grow things in sand. There is a way, but I just figured it out. I'm not doing that in this garden. So anyway, the next house, what Dad did was he had this big chicken coop next to the veggie garden. And so instead of having to do this tractor thing, the coop naturally fed the garden. So my dad used the animals to help make growing our food at home really easy. Anyway, so I traveled, I went Weipa, Mount Isa, Brisbane, what is it, Hamilton Island, I traveled around, and then I eventually went, you know what, I need to go traveling, because I think there's a bigger world out there and it's different than what we've got here. And I'd seen so many backpackers in Cairns and down the Whitsundays that I went, yeah, I'm going. None of my friends wanted to go, and I was like, I'm not waiting, I'm out. So I saved for 6 months, sold all my stuff, and I left, and I went to, and I literally read the, the Lonely Planet before I left, and I went to do Ubud before it was cool and had yoga. In fact, I was really disappointed that there was a Western toilet, because I'd actually prepped myself to be squatting and washing myself in a bucket, and this was in '93, and I was like, so disappointed they had a Western toilet. Anyway, I got to experience, basic living in Chiang Mai and Thailand later when I was 27. But, I really just threw myself out there, and I met this girl on the plane, and I told her my plans, and she said, that is way too far. Come and stay with me and my dad in the East End. And he turns out to be this amazing chair designer. So I ended up bouncing between Brighton and London. I started my first business in London. It was a rave business in the second most popular nightclub, and they said, yeah, sure, you can have a rave night here because of my accent. I said, what did you say yes to me? And it was like, I love your accent. And I was like, okay, lovely. And we got in there and we ran quite a few events.
Can you share your journey and inspiration behind Rumble?
Especially circular economy, FNQ. It would be more. I suppose Rumble. Yeah, okay. Okay, but circular economy, FNQ as well. Okay.
So with the aim to help life-changing products succeed in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's more circular economy, FNQ. With, we're doing a new agency called We Made It Better for the Planet, where that's what the agency name is. So not Rumble Media.
All right. So let's talk about that.
Okay. Let's talk about that. We made it better for the planet.
Share your journey first and inspiration behind that business. Let's start with that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So We Made It Better for the Planet is We Made It as the name, Better for the Planet is the tagline, and it is a kind of like an evolution where I wanted to be part of the solution and scale my sustainable life, which I ended up developing when I came back from London, right? So I had a pretty toxic party life in London, and I needed to have a really clean life. So coriander, vegan, getting really alternative. And I was thinking alternative medicine could help me help people and help planet, because I found Buddhism at the end of my stay in London, and it really kind of made me think about how do we be lighter on the footprint on the planet, because I got to talk to interesting people along the way who were talking about the science and the data, even back then in the 90s, about how we live right now is not sustainable long term, especially as the population grows. So I thought it was health, and then I ended up starting a sustainable clothing label. And then I decided I needed to learn how to use these new social tools called Facebook and Instagram. And so I didn't want to, and I thought, why don't I do a BA at the same time? So I went and did a BA in internet communication. So it taught me how to create communities online. But then I had this oxymoron of learning how to do Facebook and Google ads, but also talk to the person and attract a tribe rather than try and sell a lot just to make a business, because a successful and sustainable business is where you build it slowly but sustainably, but speaking to the people who actually will have their life change. Like Seth Godin was one of my key coaches that I paid around about $20,000 over his courses to study with him, because he taught permission marketing, and it kind of aligned with my values of I want to sell something that will change your life and make you feel good about yourself, because if you buy something that does that, then you're going to stop buying other shit that doesn't or fills it for a minute, but doesn't make you feel like, oh, buy better, buy less. That was my whole mantra from the 90s even, you know, because I learned very young, because I had to start buying my own clothes when I was 15. And I learned very quickly that if I bought better, I wouldn't have to spend so much, because I bought a top that would last me years. And so I made sure my staples were always really good quality.
That's awesome. So with the increase in online activity, how do you help clients navigate and scale their presence in this hectic digital landscape?
Storytelling. There has to be storytelling.
Stories.
Because people don't buy your product, they buy your benefits. And you can't talk about benefits without talking about how it changes your life, you know, so it's a story, right? So I'm definitely the slow, long play when it comes to that. And I think, you know, rather than this spray and pray marketing that other agencies do, I use data and I use quizzes and I branch logic decision trees. I went off and I traveled to the States and paid for, you know, $5,000-$10,000 courses to teach me data, online communication. That supplemented my BA. Like, my BA taught me how to research books and mentors and coaches that consolidated their, you know, lifetime of techniques into this, you know, high value course. I thought, if you can make me leapfrog this learning by a decade, I will pay your. I went to Austin and I think I paid nearly $12,000 plus travel and accommodation to spend 4 days with Anthony Robbins, business coach. Worth every penny. Worth every penny.
So you invested a lot in your own personal development, and now you're helping others.
Oh yeah, so I can do a lot with less, which is what I love. You know what I mean? That's the whole point, right? Do a lot with less.
So can you discuss the difference in impact when working as a consultant versus curating a team for a project? And how do you decide on which approach to take?
I was definitely working on I don't do projects anymore. We actually come in and we will do your whole marketing calendar. We will do all data driven. We will do all the stack you need. We'll make sure that all your journey is tracked from first visit to last, and whether they're engaged. You know what I mean? We work it out so that curate a team. So I'm curating, you know, 3 web developers, 3 PR people, you know, a group of people. And, you know, I've got this one PR person that's pretty exceptional. So I'm giving her a run at the moment and letting her own that lane. So I'm curating a team. I'm an impact project manager in what I do. So we assess a client, we look at their product, we see which SDGs we can help them achieve. Like, we're looking at giving our clients ISO certification. We need to make our products, and this is, you know, it's so funny. I never worked with e-commerce products before, and now they're like my niche, because I need to prove that they're circular and they've got a supply chain measurement going, you know, that's transparent, and they can talk about it without giving away their IP, of course. But, you know, we are working on making better products that have a closed loop SDG 12 on it, and that it aligns with SDG 14 and SDG 15. That's our rule book. And then what we do is we assess the clients that we're working with to see, are they good for people? Are they good for planet? And how do we make it so that they make a good enough profit and manage to stay within the donut economic framework of a sustainable? Because businesses actually, they get to a sweet spot and you just need to sustain it. And half the time they just need a really good calendar. They need their stack set up. They need their tracking done. They need a good, simple reporting tool that tells you when it's red, you need to be asking some questions. If it's green, then, you know, it's all good, you know. So just even getting people to read data in their marketing. And half the time I can do a project. It is a project. I'm kind of doing both. We do a project till they get to their marketing calendar that's been data driven, and we put in a brand book. If they don't have one, we actually make sure that the software and the website and everything is really easy for them to manage. And we make sure we make it really easy for us to exit the building, because we're not in here. I build, I optimize, I make sure I leave it in good hands so they don't mess with my system that is now their system. And then I go, call me if you see any red and you need help figuring out what questions to ask of your team to find out why it's red. But they shouldn't have to ask me if I've done my job properly, because I think there's a lot of businesses to help, because we want to help businesses grow and retain 100% ownership of their business. And you can do that today if you are a business that is purpose and planet driven. I prefer social enterprises, because that's a framework that actually makes you validate every year what you're doing. And everything I build, I want people to come and check my work. I want you to audit me. I am wanting you to show, I want people to do PhDs on our systems. That's what we're doing at the moment. We've got a new website, and that's what we're doing. Anyway.
So how has your background in web development and SEO influenced your approach to project management and online strategy?
It comes down to this really good book I read. It's called Checklist. It's by this medical doctor in the US, and he talks about how everybody can do with the checklist, not just in hospitals or in parts of the world that don't have doctors, but they need to know how to save people on the operating table. And really honestly, the first step in the checklist actually reduced mortality rate in Africa in operations that were done in remote areas that didn't have a trained doctor, but there were people there that could learn how to do the medicine. And oh my God, administering one thing 1 hour before the operation made such a big impact. And this book really changed my life, because it's as simple as that. It's just everybody's got a checklist in their business.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in digital marketing, and how do you address them with a data-driven solutions?
And convincing businesses that they need to invest in their data. And that, when you pay for an A-player team, and you get a system that will run your business without anybody else coming in, and you can, anyway, it's about getting people to adopt this new way. Although, through COVID, we used data to help our businesses decide, even though their accountants had said to turn off all their ads and save money, we were like, no, the data is showing us that it's costing you 50% less and you're getting double your return on investment. Like, we managed all my clients that were with me through that time, March 20 to 2021, which was kind of enough, and they didn't need me. They saw that the system worked even through the worst event, that they could actually, navigate, their marketing without me. And, like that in and of itself, explain, when people see how much it saves their butt, then they're in, but yeah, it's about convincing them, because it's an investment, some of them have to pay. It's like 30 to 60,000 to get it set up properly. And then you need to do feedback loops on it. So we do that, but we do that for smaller businesses. And now we're doing that for, not launch, but people who've got a business and they've sold at least $100,000 worth of their products. They're our people. We can take them from 100K to $1 million to 2 to 3, and then get them on to the next level of coach that they need.
Okay. So my final question for you is, I know you're an activator for SheEO. About how you got involved with that. What is your investment thesis? What inspired you to start investing in other women?
Because I am definitely a feminist. I've spent the last 30 years getting away from that Maltese like misogyny culture. And it's not just in our nationality, right? It's in our business because women have been disadvantaged for so long and looked over. We've actually taken that framework and we're morphing that over into circular economy FNQ, where we're doing that interest-free loan, but it will be from businesses supporting those businesses that we say, you know what, you should buy from these guys and you should pay their retail, because what they're doing is they're being the early adopters that are making the shift towards circular economy, and it's expensive initially. So, you know, invest in them. So it's yeah, that's probably the key. When it comes to investing in women, I think I really do believe in the Finland framework, where 60% female and 40% male is a really good combination to have on the teams that we're growing. So I really love being an activator within CEO, Coralus. I think so that we need to include both men and women in that conversation, because the way that men's brains think and the way that women's brains think, I think it's different. It complements, but I do need to, acknowledge that female businesses or even, shining star team members may have been, quietened before, and I am definitely in the space to make sure that they thrive. I think the Coralus framework is fantastic. I think it's growing slower than I'd like it to. I don't think that the pool in Australia is as big as it should be by now. But I also believe that there's many other solutions. It's the Grameen Bank, right? They started this. I saw that Coralus, she had done it in a female way, and now Circular Economy FNQ wants to do it in the circular industrial economy kind of way. So we don't, if you're a social enterprise, you get a higher ranking of us giving you an interest-free loan to accelerate your business. But if you are part of reducing scope 3 emissions, you're pretty well, part of our take you.
I love it. I love it. Irene, thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence today. Absolutely fascinating story. It's inspiring to see a woman who's taking a stance to support other women, keep them in business, support them to get their businesses off the ground. Absolutely amazing. I really thank you for coming online and sharing with us today.
And most of my team is female. We do have men, but with 2 men, the rest are female.
Fantastic. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is bringing you stories from women from all over the world to uplift, inspire, energize, and motivate you to reach your fullest potential. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Irene, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.